Hello guys, how are we doing? Today's video is going to be a breakdown of my stats in for Season 2 Ranked Vanguard. I'm going to be going into things such as KD, time in each rank, as well as breaking down how my spread of maps and game modes, that sort of thing. But before we get into all of that stuff, the gameplay you've seen in the background is a fairly old one because I'm using the Volk. I don't really use it anymore because it's a bit, it's frowned upon. But yeah, I'm using the Volk, and the second round in, we actually probably get... You know what, I want to say it's the world record, but I obviously have no idea. But it's my personal fastest offense round win on Tuscan. I think we end up losing about 3 lives or something like that. So make sure you guys stay to that at least if you're not interested in what I'm about to show you, because it's worth watching. But yeah, as I say, my overall stat line I don't think is that special. I think I come fairly top of the team. I can't recall. But anyway... The game's good fun. We end up winning 3-1. Thanks to that absolutely nuts offense round, we win in the second round. Right, let's crack on with the video. So, let's start with KD. So, Season 2 ranked, and this is going to be something I'm going to be doing at the end of each season in ranked going forward. Now, as you guys are probably aware, there isn't any sort of combat record or in-game stats in ranked play, unfortunately, and it doesn't look like they're going to be bringing it to the full release of ranked play, because as you guys know, Season 2 is just a ranked beta, so unfortunately that's not going to be the case. However, you can do this too. You can track your stats if you want to. Go onto Google Sheets. You can literally just search it on your phone. You can search it on if you've got a laptop or PC. Go on Google Sheets, create a sheet, and just, document your map, the game mode, the elims and deaths each game, your score, time on hill, your SR each game, whether it was a win or a loss, and how much SR you gain or lose, depending on, how much the SR is after the game. That's all I've been doing. It's 99.9% accurate. There's some games in which I've had a black screen, so I don't know, although I've lost 50, or, when you get a black screen after a game, sometimes it doesn't let you see the stats. So in those circumstances, it sort of skews it a little bit, but other than that, everything is as it is, 100% accurate. So let's get into it. So, starting off with my overall KD, my kills are 14,241, and I've died just over 10,000 times, which gives my KD a 1.39, which I think is okay. That's including assists as well. But I think 1.39 is pretty solid, especially when you're in those Master and Challenger lobbies. That's fair. Now, let's break down the KD based on game mode. So, S&D, my KD is 1.44. So, this is actually my strongest game mode for KD. For whatever reason. Not entirely sure why. Maybe I'm a bit more of a calculated player. And I suppose there's not much of an objective to throw yourself at, whereas on Control and Hardpoint there is. Talking of which, Control KD is going to be 1.4. Still fairly solid. But as you can see here, my weak point for my kill death ratio is Hardpoint at 1.38. I still don't think that's too bad, and that heavily skews my overall KD because I play a lot more Hardpoint than any of the game mode for whatever reason. But yeah, 1.38 is not bad. I'm much more of an SMG player throughout this season, so that's why that's fairly low, because I like to get the time and things like that. Now, moving on to games per rank. This is something new I've added. This wasn't in my last sort of statistics update video, so this is something new I've added. So in Season 2, I had no games in advance, thankfully, even after my placement games and even after I got dropped SR. So I don't know if you guys remember mid-season, there was sort of a like a mid-season adjustment for everyone who sort of backed out of lobbies. And to be fair, I wasn't the biggest person doing that. I did it a bunch of times, but I don't think I deserved the loss. I think I lost 1,500 SR or something like that. So I didn't even get down to expert, advanced doing that, thankfully. Expert, 39 games. I think when I first started league rank play, keep calling it rank play, I got put into a low elite, so that doesn't include. Then I think these expert games are purely when my SR was downgraded after their adjustment. So yeah, sad times. And then I've got 215 games in elite. Again, I think most of that would have been. I think I managed to get into Master quite quickly initially after my placement games at the first. The first bit of ranked. But I think most of my elite games were actually covered when I got demoted, because it was around the time you only really gained 15 or 10 or 15 and lost 20. So I ended up playing a lot of elite games in that period after I got deranked. But hey, it is what it is. And by the way, what is this round on Tuscan? If you guys are watching the gameplay, which I hope you are, how flawless is this? It was absolutely beautiful. Can't imagine we'll ever do it again, and I haven't since. So yeah, if you guys are watching and you appreciate the quick offense run like that, make sure you guys leave a comment or a thumbs up in the video. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I think it deserves. I think it deserves one. Doesn't happen every day. Anyway, we digress. Moving back onto the statistics, I then played 276 games in Master, and this is my bulk of my games in Master. That's just because that's where I sat. I did slightly get into Challenger at one point, and I only managed to play 28 games in Challenger, but most of my time played on this game will be in Master, and that's sort of where I just I sat most of the time really. I snuck into Challenger and then come out of Challenger, so it was just one of them sort of situations. So yeah. Now, moving on to win-loss ratio, my win-loss percentage is 58. My win percentage is 58.42%, which means I've got a win-loss ratio of 1.41, which is okay. I think when you're playing ranked, that's not bad. Obviously, my pubs is something like 3 or 2.5 or 3, something like that. But ranked is obviously a little bit more competitive, so you don't expect to be winning all your games. But I think a 1.41 ratio is still pretty good. My average SR for a win is 15. And my average SR for a loss is -18. So in fact, if I'd have won the same amount of games as I'd lost, I'd have still gone down in SR, unfortunately. But thankfully, due to my positive win-loss ratio, that's boosted me up a bit. Bit of a random stat, but my average time on hill when playing hardpoint is 1 minute 13, which I think is okay. That's fair, I think, for a lot of people don't even get a minute, but I get 1 minute 13 on average. I mean, some games I get 30 seconds, some games I get nearly 3 minutes. So it averages out over the 558 games, or however many I've played, to be 1.13, or 1 minute 13, sorry. Now, moving on to a little bit more of an interesting in-depth analysis into the game mode and map pool spread that I've had in Season 2. The game played per game mode is, so my hardpoint is 284 games, S&D 145 games, control 129 games. So as you can see, 50.9% of my games have all been hardpoint. So half the games I play are hardpoint. For whatever reason, it was fairly even up until they did like a mid-season patch, and for whatever reason, people started leaving S&D, people started leaving control because it's Gavutu, and a hardpoint just seemed to be the game mode that people stuck in. So I think that's just what it is. But we've got a nice split between S&D and control either way. Ideally, I'd like to see 33% each, like a very even split. I like hardpoint, but I do like, people leave Desert Siege to S&D. I don't mind it. S&D is a little bit more, you've got to engage with your brain a little bit more, and I sort of like that slower pace sort of thing sometimes. Moving on to games played per map. So, Gavutu, I'm not going to go through all of it, but you can see there are 121 games for Gavutu, 164 for Tuscan, 48 for Desert Siege, 113 for Bocage, and nearly the similar number, but 112 for Berlin. Now that works out to be the percentages you can see here on the right, so 21.68, 29.39. Only 8% of my games are on Desert Siege, so on and so forth. Now, they're pretty skewed, so Tuscan, for example, has all the game modes on it. Desert Siege only has one game mode on it. So what I've done in the next column to the right, which starts with 21.95%, I've weighted the percentage based on how many game modes they've got. So as you can see, it's a lot more fairly distributed. But even still, Desert Siege isn't coming up as much, even though it does only have one thing. And Gavutu seems to be the most map I've played based on the weighted scale, and based on the fact it's only 2 game modes. So yeah, I hope this makes sense. That's all I've got, unfortunately, for stats. As I said, it's just me in a Google Sheets, and I would recommend you doing the same just to keep track of your record and how well you're doing, and if you're improving, that sort of thing. It's not too hard to do. You just make sure you update it after every game. It takes like 15 seconds. So yeah, it's good to do. I will be doing it again this season, so hopefully going into the next season, I see a bit of improvement in myself, and it's a nice, fresh state. Talking of which, the next season is dropping. It's a bit messy. At the time of recording this, rank play actually is broken. You can't actually get on it. I think you've got to wait. We're waiting for Season 3 to start before we can jump on it. But trust you me, I'll be jumping on that straight away. And I will actually have an alternate account this season for the purpose of doing a Road to Challenger solo queue, where I purely solo queue. So I'm hoping that will be something you guys want to see, is someone grinding from the placement matches all the way up to wherever I can get. It might not even be Challenger because it's solo queuing, you guys know what that's like. But yeah, that's going to be something I do on that. So exciting stuff for that. Whereas I'm just going to be keeping my main one as just my main one, playing with mates here and there. I will be solo queuing sometimes in those games, but that'll be where you see the regular videos of me dropping V2s maybe on ranked. We can hope. But I'm super buzzed about the new season. I'm not too fussed about any new content. Obviously, trophies are back in, which is huge. They seem to be fair, they seem to be pretty well balanced. The health on the trophies is fairly low, meaning that you can kill it just as quickly as you can kill a person, which is quite good. And they only allow 3 projectiles. But I do think this is going to change, like have a shift in the meta. I think people are going to be running what was Cold War Engineer, so you can see trophies through walls. And you will have probably, if you are in a 4-man or a 4-stack, you will have that one person dedicated to simply just shooting out trophies. Because I think, to be fair, I think even without trophies, the game was relatively balanced. There were some money hills where without nades you would never be breaking. So, for example, on Tuscan P5 on this map here, there's that hard point right in the room above the stairs, just next to B, and without nades, yeah, it's going to be really hard to break. It's going to be bloody hard to break. So with trophies in the mix as well, I'm not sure how it will play out, but I think they've balanced the trophy system itself perfectly, as long as you don't get every single person on the team running it. Myself, I'll probably still run Deddy. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. I'm quite excited for it. A little bit of change in the meta, possibly with perks and stuff as well. But yeah, there's going to be a couple new guns coming out, but I can't see them being involved in ranked at all, just because they never are. Because they're normally like bloody powerful. God, I missed the bolt. That should not be killing that quickly, which is exactly why it was GA'd and why I don't use it anymore, because it's proper cheesy. But yeah, that's going to do it for me. You will see here, we managed to clutch up. We win 3-1, and that's the game. If you want any information on how I gathered my stats, if you want like me to share like a template for you on Google Sheets, just give me a shout. I'm happy to do so. Or if you do have any questions about the stats I've given you, again, let me know. Hope you guys are excited for the new season. I'll see you in the lobbies. Ciao for now.